about this, ladies and gentlemen. I've had one, two problems of momentarily forgetting passwords and having to join back in. And oh gosh, let's turn the volume down here.
About this, ladies and gentlemen. I've had one, two problems.
Here we go. Oh, and Malcolm will have entered the room. Oh, there have been some changes since I was last here. It's a bit, lighting is a bit strange. Never mind. So we've got that, and that means if I can put changes since I was last here and change that. Do give me a moment because I am doing some housekeeping. So I do apologize and I'll try and be as quick as I can. Yeah, these things are always a bit tedious to say the least, and it's just setting things up and I have to start going live while I'm setting up. So yes, hopefully Malcolm will join me very soon and we'll have a quick discussion. But yes, well, not a quick discussion, but it will start quickly enough. And yeah, let's have a quick look and see if Malcolm is in the room. Yes, he is. I will ask if you will bear with me for a moment. So trying to coordinate. Okay. Good evening, Malcolm. How are you?
Hello, good evening. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Fine. Apologies to you and apologies to anyone watching why I was a bit delayed and why I seemed distracted. There were one or two problems with momentarily forgetting passwords that I needed to.
Oh, right, okay.
So you know what it's like when the clock's against you and you to deal with all that. But I'm now just finishing off with the housekeeping, which should have been done 5 minutes ago. It shows how time. But yes, it's all good. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I've had a very relaxing evening so far. Did a little reading.
Yes.
And not much else.
All right.
So, yeah.
How are things getting on in the run up to Christmas?
So far so good. I made my monthly visit to the Westminster Cathedral last week.
Yes.
I go there for confession, start of every month. So that got me going for Advent.
Yes.
Well, a couple of days in, but it got me spiritual scrub down. That was good.
Yeah.
I can't say life has been much different since then, outside of liturgical practice. Still waiting for snow outside.
Yes.
I think I'll be waiting for a while.
Yes.
I've just ordered George C. Scott. So,
yes.
I got round to that finally.
Yes.
But yeah, Christmas Carol. This is the guy who played General Patton, so I'm having a hard time thinking of him as a character from a Dickens book.
Well, there is a bit of a bar humbug about Patton, so.
Sorry, say that again?
There's a bit of a bar humbug about Patton, but.
Okay, I have to admit, I've never seen it. I only know it by reputation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's not an actor that I know that well, so it'll be interesting to watch.
Yes. Have you seen Doctor Strangelove?
No, I haven't. I've only seen clips.
Yeah, because
I've never watched the film.
he's in that film. But yeah.
That's Peter Sellers, isn't it?
Yes, he played all three roles, and it was one of two occasions where he was nominated for an Oscar. The other was for Being There, which was his penultimate film. Incidentally, Sellers had his first series of heart attacks, which would very nearly killed him. He was extremely close to death, was in 1964. And had he died, Dr. Strangelove would have been the film before his penultimate film. So it's interesting, the two films where he got Oscar nominations were about a year, filmed a year, within 2 years of him having massive heart attacks.
Yeah.
A bit of a grim comparison, so we'll move swiftly on. Talking of life and death and everything else, The Way, what made you decide, before we go headlong into it, what made you decide to choose this one?
Well, I love the film to pieces. It got me walking the Camino.
I was going to ask at some point whether you had done that.
Yeah, it's the reason, pretty much the reason why I walked it. So the backstory very quickly is that in 2018, in November, 2-3 weeks into November, I was back at Westminster Cathedral. For anyone watching who doesn't know, I'm a Catholic, so I go there for confession and sometimes go to Mass afterwards or whatever, what have you. And that's what I've been doing in November 2018, went to confession. There's a shop next door, St. Paul's. They sell books, more books, videos and the like. Yeah. And I often go in there after I've been to the cathedral, just in case there's a book or something that I need to have. And this time around, I went in, I thought, I'm not buying a book. Let's look at the DVDs. And I thought I'd get away with not buying anything because I don't often buy Christian DVDs, I guess. And I saw Bible stories, saint stories, blah, blah, blah. And then this film, The Way, and I'd not heard of it. I looked at it, Martin Sheen, interesting, directed by Emilio Estevez, who I remember very fondly from the days of my youth when he was in the Brat Pack in the 80s.
And it's also Martin Sheen's son.
That's right, yeah, his son, one of his sons. And so I thought, interesting. I'll buy it for him, take a punt on it, see what it's like. And I just fell in love with it from the first time I watched it. And a few weeks later, I was at Blackfriars joining the Confraternity of St. James, the English Camino Society. And then January following, 2019, I quit my job. That was going to happen anyway, to be honest. But in April, by Christmas, I decided to walk it. And then in April, off I went. So April 2019. And yeah, it was down to that film. I used to belong to a book club when I was in that job. It was at TFL. And we read a Camino-related book then 3-4 years ago. Made no impression on me whatsoever. I didn't really like it. So just forgot about it. But The Way completely went straight to my heart. And so when you gave me the choice to as to which film to discuss, well, we discussed Alexander before, so The Way was a very obvious choice, second choice after that one to talk about. So that was why.
For those who don't know anything about the film, it does the son of the lead character played by Martin Sheen, and the son is actually played by Emilio Estevez, who also wrote, produced, and directed the film.
That's right. Yeah.
He gets killed. Is it in the Pyrenees? And
he crossed in the Pyrenees on the first day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his father has to come to collect the body.
Yeah.
And in the process, he ends up, one thing or another, taking the Camino pilgrimage with his son's ashes
That's
in a
right.
tin in a rucksack.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of the film which almost made my heart stop, was when the little boy steals the rucksack. Not because
Oh,
of the
yeah.
rucksack in itself, but you felt for the father. I think all
Yeah.
of us have, whilst neither you or I, Malcolm, have children, all of us, and some of our viewers won't have, we've all had close relatives. We all have close relatives, and we've had close relatives who we've lost. And I think all of us could therefore identify with that moment of horror at the thought of the mortal remains of someone close to you disappearing like that.
It's handled so well with his father, who realizes what the boy's done. The kid's just looking for the main chance, money, valuables. And obviously his father realizes, and he appears to be quite devout in his own way.
Yes.
Brings him back by the ear to the cafe. That's a very powerful sequence, especially when they're in the square and he's shouting to the boy, "Come out here, just give me the box." And his friends say, no, they're gypsies, don't get involved with them, it'll be trouble for you. And the helplessness that he has at that point is it's very affecting, for sure. That's a big moment. That takes place a little way, 3/4 perhaps through the film, a whole sequence when life goes from bad to worse for Tom, Martin Sheen's character, Tom Avery. There's a sequence where he, of course, he's traveling with the ashes of his son. He doesn't want to be traveling with other people, and yet he ends up picking up friends along the way. And so there's a real tension there. He's with them. He doesn't want to be with them. He tries to lose them. They end up having to stick together by necessity. And then he has an unexpected confrontation with one of them.
Yes.
And that leads to him getting drunk and then biffing, or trying to anyway, a policeman, and then getting stuck in the cells for a night or similar. And then finally the theft of the rucksack. It's a real, in the crucible, in the fire, of fiery experiences that he has to go through in order to come out at the other end. A better person, a happier person. Great scenes. I just forgot one of the characters' names. I'm just looking up IMDb to find it.
Yeah.
I've seen this film so many times and I still forget some of the character names.
I almost think of them as the American, the Dutch, the Irish, and the Canadian.
That's right. Yeah, the Irish. Yeah. Sarah. That's right. Sarah, who had the violent husband.
Yes.
There are different ways you can see them. They also accord to characters from The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
A character with no heart, which I think is the Dutchman. Used.
Yeah.
I mix that up. It's on the.
There's Heart, Brain, and Courage, and there is a lot of connections to the Wizard of Oz, isn't there? On the Yellow Brick Road.
It's in the
Dutch. The Dutch person, I imagine, is involved. He's trying to lose. He's going on this to lose weight. So so he's in good shape for his brother's wedding, and also because he's having problems in his marriage, and he thinks by losing weight he'll be attractive and sexy to his wife again. And
which it can happen. When I walked it, I lost 1.5 stone from France to Santiago, Saint-Jean. So I started off at the same place as the characters.
Yes.
And despite having a glass of wine or a beer every night, I still managed to lose 1.5 stone. I think he would have needed to lose a bit more. But the film is really good at showing the diversity of reasons why the people walk the Camino.
And the Irishman with a writer's block. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to.
You've got the writer's block. That's right. He starts in Paris, which is pretty spectacular. But yeah, it's a Catholic pilgrimage route, over 1,000 years old, and yet nowadays most people, I think, who walk it probably aren't walking it for religious reasons. Certainly not for Catholic ones. Even I, the Catholic, it wasn't precisely a spiritual. My reason for being there wasn't precisely spiritual, although I gave it that meaning as I went along. But it's neat seeing, lose weight. He's got a writer's block. Sarah, the Canadian, well, she says that it's to give up cigarettes, but it's actually more to do with the abortion that she had, which we find out when they get to the Cruz de Ferro, the Iron Cross. And of course, Tom is walking it for his son. So yeah, I like how they have all these different reasons. They include the film.
In a bizarre way, and it is bizarre. Have you ever seen the film Planes, Trains and Automobiles?
Yeah, I love that film.
It's almost like, forgive my use of language, either a Presbyterian or a secular. There's the Presbyterian / secular ceremony. I do say / secular because it started off as a Presbyterian, with Presbyterians, but it's meant as a secular ceremony of Thanksgiving for Americans. And it's a pilgrim, essentially. The two characters in that film, played by Steve Martin and the very much missed, I've forgotten his name,
John Candy.
John Candy, the much missed John Candy, on the pilgrimage, in a sense, to be somewhere at Thanksgiving. And of course, they start off. John Candy is this very ebullient person, but he's got it. It's only at the very end of the film, and you and I know what it is, but I don't want to spoil it for you. There's a lot of sadness hidden deep in his heart that he buries and buries and buries, and part of the way he's burying it is by working on the on the outgoingness. But that outgoingness about him grates on Steve Martin's character tremendously at the beginning. In a similar way to this film, the Dutch character, his ebullientness and outgoingness grates on Martin Sheens, who just wants to be left alone for obvious reasons, and just wants, to mourn his son in peace and go there. But you find out later, this Dutch person, his outgoing nature conceals a lot of sadness.
Yeah, same with Sarah as well. Yusuf, a wonderful character. I love how he can't stop himself from talking and telling the truth about his situation, whereas we only find out Sarah's full story towards the end. With Yusuf, we find out right at the start, because he can't help but be honest about it. He's such a charm, very endearing. I have to admit, I sometimes find Jack from Ireland annoying. But even he, though, when we go deeper into his character later, when he gets, when we see him at the church, when they're ringing the bells later on, oh, don't go in there. Temples of Tears. He's Irish, so I can guess why he's saying that. But then when he does go into the cathedral at Santiago and the tears are coming down, there's such a rich story in there. We don't know why he's crying. It's left to us to imagine. And it doesn't take a lot of imagination to create a story or a scenario as to why he might be shedding tears. The film is really very well character-led, definitely.
I mean, it is a film where there are definitely multi-layered characters, and definitely a film where there's more in depth. but it's a journey of the characters themselves, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh,
How
yeah.
that's resolved.
Yeah.
I mean, not all of it does feel altogether perhaps as resolved as it could be, but you definitely feel that this is something that we see four people are changing as a result of this.
Yes. I mean, most obviously, Tom.
Yeah.
He's passed through the valley of the shadow of darkness. He's come out into the light at the other end. He's certainly a changed man. At the end, we see him, he's not gone back home, or if he has, he's stopped his job and he's off traveling again. With the others, it's not quite so clear for sure. They all seem happier in one way or the other. Jack, we can definitely tell he's changed because we see him getting the words back.
Yes.
Yes, with Sarah, she's calmer, she's happier.
Yeah.
It would be great to have had a sequel to see, because there's a saying, one of, I imagine, many sayings about the Camino, that it really begins, or it really only begins when you get to Santiago or when you go home.
Yeah.
It would have been great to see a sequel, these characters in their homelands, in their hometowns, to see what impact, if any, it had after they'd left Spain. But yet we start to see the change in them at the very least. With Tom, it goes further. Yeah.
So I was just realised this was creating a lot of noise. I've got a heat on in the background, and just.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about this. I'll start there. Done. I was just on the point of giving up with it as well. The other thing I like about the film is it breaks stereotypes. Wondered whether there would be some romance between her and one of the other characters, because that kind of thing goes on in films. She's good looking, they're fairly presentable, so you would have thought, and of course that doesn't happen. It's about the journey of this. It's about, and what I like about that is not everyone would identify with that happening, but everyone would identify with the struggles of the soul that each person has. So it kind of frees up the film in a way. Not that I've got anything against romantic. I love romantic subplots in stories, but I think in this context, in this film, I think it was good that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's very much a film about the inner journey of the characters. The physicality of the film is there because they're walking across northern Spain.
Yes.
But no, it's not a romantic film unless you want to say broaden the understanding of romantic, spiritually romantic, or personal romance. Or I just want to say Tom learns to love himself again, or all the characters do. Yes. But it's not that romantic stroke sexual type film, for sure. Yeah, the lens is looking in completely another direction. It's possible to find love on the Camino, and as evidenced by the Estevez family.
Yes, because it's based on a real, well, not entirely, it's based on an actual Camino pilgrimage, which did have a romantic subtext, which makes it even more interesting that there isn't one in the film. Because Martin Sheen.
Which one are you thinking of?
Sorry?
Which one are you thinking of?
Well, the original one, Martin Sheen and his grandson went on the pilgrimage.
That's right, Tyler.
And grandson met the love of his life on this pilgrimage.
That's right.
And got married.
That's what I was thinking of.
And that inspired, to do a film. But Martin Sheen was thinking of a documentary. The young man's father, Martin Sheen's son, Emilio Estevez, says, no, it can't be a documentary. We've got to expand on it. It's got to be made into a feature film. And so it kind of works like that, but it's...
And Tyler Estevez, I don't know if he's Estevez or Sheen. He is, very briefly, he's the body in the bag. playing his father
Oh,
or his
yeah.
father's character, Emilio Estevez's character.
Yeah.
Although I've read contradictory accounts. One, that it's Tyler Estevez or she,
Yeah.
and two, that it's actually Emilio Estevez surprising
Yeah.
his dad. I don't actually know who it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the film is very much focused on the character changing or the character's journey, and that doesn't include any of them falling in love with each other.
No.
Yeah, for better for worse, I can't say I missed it. I love romances as well,
Yeah.
but I mean, film didn't really need a romance, to be
No.
honest, to work. It's about something different, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say was the best thing about the film and the worst thing? If there's anything, what's the best thing about the film? And is there anything about the film where you're like, I'm not too keen on that?
There is no scene in it that I really think, oh, why is that there? That's awful. I could be a bit cliched and say the worst thing about it is the end. What I might say is instead, the most mysterious thing about it is I could answer that when I think is Ishmael. That's the name of the boy's father.
Yes.
I think when he and Tom Avery, Martin Sheen, are talking to each other at the dinner in the evening, Ishmael says to him, "So you're going to Santiago's?" And Martin Sheen says, "Yes, that's right." And then he says, "You'll go on to Mashiach afterwards." And he had no intention of going anywhere afterwards. As far as he was concerned, Martin Sheen, the pilgrimage ends at Santiago, which in a sense it does. But Ishmael tells him, no, you go to Mashiach and put the last of the ashes into the sea. And he doesn't explain why this is important. It's definitely not a religious reason. He explicitly says that. But as to why he thinks it is so important, he doesn't say. And Tom Avery, Martin Sheen's character, doesn't know either. He just says later on to the others, he seemed to think it was very important, so he's going to do that. And I wish they had explained why he regarded it as so important. I wondered if, I did wonder after I saw it, is there some folklore attached to Mashiach on the coast? So it's on the west coast of Spain, but I couldn't find anything. So it's really, I guess, I wonder if deliberately they're leaving it up to the viewer to make their own mind up as to what the reason could be. And now that I think about it, I'm sure one of the producers, I think it's David Alexanian, I'm sure he says in the commentary, he gives a possible reason for it, but I have to admit, I can't remember what it is. But thinking about it again now, that's my, that's the mystery, the most mysterious thing. There are no scenes that I thought, well, that's awful. That really doesn't deserve to be there. I think there are one or two scenes that I wish hadn't happened, like when bad things happen to people, but otherwise, no, it's just, for me, every scene in there deserves its place. I might like some scenes more than others. That just, it doesn't mean I don't like the other ones. I think you said, did you say best scene as well, or similar?
What you thought was the best scene?
Well,
the best thing about the film.
That's hard because my mind is automatically going to slip into my favorite scene, which is quite different. I might go for the black section, as it were, in the middle, or the middle third, where we get the sequence of Tom getting beaten, punched rather, and then the drunk incident, and then the the gypsy stealing the
Mm.
the rucksack, because it it would be very easy to make a jolly decent film about the Camino where they have little ups and downs, but they're a nice traveling party, and they get to Santiago without anything too bad happening. But in that sequence, although it's difficult, or I kind of find it difficult to watch because I don't like seeing characters I like being hurt, it really takes you into, especially Tom. He has to dig deep there. He fails the test with the drunken incident. But it takes a character into the depths, puts him through the ringer before bringing him out at the other side. And it makes his triumph of recovery so much richer, because he's had that really difficult, it's been difficult for him since the start, but he had that acutely difficult section where everything was going wrong, and it would have been so easy for him to quit, which of course he almost does after the boy takes the rucksack. But even after it got back, but yet he goes through that darkness, the dark night of the soul, and comes out at the other end, and that just makes the final third of the film, the arrival in Santiago, etc., that much more of a yes, he's done it experience. So I would go for those scenes as one, because of the way they put him through the ringer and then bring him out at the other side a changed and hopefully a better person.
Yes. Sorry about the involuntary yawning. I would say it's difficult to put. I would agree with you, because I haven't really had a chance to fully process what I've seen. But I from what you've said, yes, I would go with that. Out of 10, with 1 being lowest and 10 being highest, what would you say? What score would you give the film?
It's touching upon 10 out of 10 for me. It has to.
Okay.
I might give it 9.8 because I don't think any film is perfect. But yeah, it's to all intents and purposes, it's a 10 out of 10 film.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For the quality of the script, camera work, music, etc. It just the perfect film I never thought I'd see. Well, for 30 years, I had 2 films that I thought I loved more than any other film. Some Kind of Wonderful and The English Patient.
Yes.
And I never thought there would be a third film that I could put alongside them in terms of personal favorites. Earlier in 2018, I saw, what's it called now? Timothy Chalamet's film, Call Me By Your Name.
Yes.
Which I thought was a brilliant film. And that was heading straight towards my favorite film of the year. But then I saw The Way and, this even further ahead than that one. And so I put it definitely on my film pedestal alongside English Patient, Some Kind of Wonderful. That's how highly I regard it. And anything that got me out of the country and walking in a country I'd never been before, spending all my money on the journey, that's got to be special.
Yes. Well, that's a lot of commitment, which is true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing with us your love of the film The Way, Malcolm, and thank you for this discussion. Our next film we'll discuss, which decided a while ago, is A Christmas Carol, the 1984 version, which I think was essentially made for TV or premiered on TV over here, with George C. Scott as Scrooge and Frank Finlay as Marley's ghost, among others. It's got a recognisable all-star cast,
right?
But and I think we'll be seeing that at some point before Christmas. But we'll let you know when it's in.
Yep.
You're looking forward to it, Malcolm?
Yes, definitely. I'm not sure what to expect.
Put you on the
I know
spot
the
there.
story, but I've no idea. Whenever anyone talks about the Christmas Carol,
Yes.
they online in a way, they're talking about the Muppets.
Yes, and that does. I
Uh,
don't get me wrong. I love the Muppets Christmas Carol, but for me, it's not the definitive version. It's the fun version.
Right. Right. I
The
mean,
Christmas
I've not
Carol
even
is,
seen that one, so
yes,
I wait with great interest. I think the closest I've come to a performance of the Christmas Carol or a Christmas Carol
yeah.
was seeing the one-man show live with Simon Callow a
I
few
was
years
going
ago.
to say he did a performance of it for BBC Two,
Right.
and
I saw it in the theatre.
yeah,
Back in,
so it's,
I mean, it was a while ago now, but
yeah,
from what I remember of it, it was great. So I've just ordered the video. It will arrive very soon. So yeah, I look forward to
because
sitting
it looks,
down,
yeah.
watching it. Yeah.
I saw a performance, him give a one-man performance that on BBC Two, and it was all set in a deserted house, and it was, had me mesmerised. So that was one of my, alongside the George C. Scott, that was one of my, favourites. I part of me tries to avoid saying the Alistair Sim version because that's the one that you're most expected to, as well as the Muppets Christmas Carol. But
So which version is that?
sorry, the Alistair Sim version, Scrooge, 1951.
Okay, I
Yes.
haven't even seen that one.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm approaching this quite raw,
yes.
quite a newbie for film interpretations of it. I'm sure I've seen one or two along the way, but
Yeah.
they don't stay in my mind. So
No.
yeah, it'll be very interesting to see and how they approach it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, we look
Yeah.
forward to what you think, and thank you for your time, Malcolm. And
Thank you.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
probably
See you
see you within the next 3 weeks.
Okay, Doug.
Cheers. Bye.